this meeting is being live streamed. Krishna, 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 hey. 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 Krishna, 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 Rakshamam. Krishna, 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 Krishna.
How come there's no volume?
Krishna, Krishna, Rakshamam. Krishna, 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 Pahimam. Krishna, 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 Pahimam. Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rakshamam. Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rama Raghava, Rakshamam. Krishna Keshava, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Keshava, Pahimam. Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Krishna Keshava, Pahimam. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. O Lord Krishna, please protect me and maintain me. O Lord Rama, descendant of King Raghu, please protect me. O Krishna, O Keshava, killer of the Keshi demon, please maintain us. Can I get an amen for that?
Amen.
Amen.
Go.
Hallelujah, brothers and sisters. We're gathered here this evening to praise the Lord. To praise the Lord in his talks between Krishna and Rukmini. Who would have known that the Lord has 16,108 wives? So Nirhari Prabhu and Bhavatrini, are you available for reading? Would you like to kick things off? Or shall we go to Krishna Chandra?
Okay.
Haribol Prabhu, obeisances.
Haribol, obeisances to all of you, to you, Prabhu.
I really like your Chinese backdrop there. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, we had it at our store. We
Very
had
nice.
a really nice store. Actually, it was at forefront with Gurudas, and so many came to talk. And Gurudas did a book signing, his second book, not third, but second book. So
Nice. A lot of history. So are you available to read, Prabhu?
yeah.
Okay.
Once
So
talks between Krishna and Rukmini.
yeah.
Once upon a time, Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the bestower of all knowledge to all living entities from Brahma to the insignificant ant, was sitting in the bedroom of Rukmini. who was engaged in the service of the Lord along with her assistant maidservants. Krishna was sitting on the bedstead of Rukmini, and the maidservants were engaged in fanning him with chamaras, yak-tail fly whisks, where everybody knows it. So Lord Krishna is dealing with Rukmini as a perfect husband, is a perfect manifestation of the supreme perfection of the personality of Godhead. There are many philosophers who propound a concept of the absolute truth in which God cannot do this or that. They deny the incarnation of God or the supreme absolute truth in human form. Gaura. Huh?
I don't want to be in the screen.
Okay, so I'll close the.
But actually,
Where are you? No, you scrolled and
But,
I go.
but
But actually, the fact is different. God cannot be subject to our imperfect sensual activities. He's the all-powerful, omnipresent personality of Godhead, and by His supreme will, He can not only create, maintain, annihilate the whole cosmic manifestation, but He can also descend as an ordinary human being in order to execute the highest mission. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, whenever there are discrepancies in the discharge of human occupational duties, He descends. He's not forced to appear by any external agency, but descends by His own internal potency in order to reestablish the standard functions of human activities, as well as to simultaneously annihilate the disturbing elements in the progressive march of human civilization. In accordance with this principle of transcendental pastimes of the Supreme Personality of...
scroll, please.
No, it's Godhead, not scroll.
The Supreme Personality of
I don't know how far it's supposed to be.
Godhead.
He descends in his eternal form of Sri Krishna in the dynasty of the Yadis. Is her turn now, or should I don't know how many paragraphs.
that was 2 paragraphs.
Two paragraphs.
That was 2 paragraphs.
Yeah.
Okay, so you went. Okay, the palace of Rukmini was wonderfully furnished. There were many canopies hanging on the ceiling with laces bedecked with pearl garlands, and the whole palace was illuminated by the effulgence of valuable jewels. There were many flowered orchards in Bela and Camellia, which are considered to be the most fragrant flowers in India.
Camellia, wow.
There were many clusters of these plants with blooming flowers enhancing the beauty of the palace. And because of the exquisite fragrance of the flowers, little groups of humming bees were gathered around the trees. And at night, the pleasing moonshine glittered through the network of holes in the windows. There were many heavily flowered trees of parijata, and the mild wind stirred the flavor of the flowers all around. Within the walls of the palace, there was incense burning, and the fragrant smoke was leaking out of the window shutters. Within the room, there were mattresses covered with white bed sheets resembling the foam of milk. The bedding was as soft and white as milk foam. In this situation, Lord Sri Krishna was very comfortably sitting and enjoying the service of Rukmini-ji, assisted by her maidservants. Rukmini was also very eager to get the opportunity of serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead as her husband. She therefore wanted to serve the Lord personally and took the handle of the chamara from the hand of the maidservant and began to move the fan. The handle of the chamara was made of gold, decorated and bedecked with valuable jewels, and it became more beautiful when it was taken by Rukmini because of all of her fingers were beautifully set with jeweled rings. Her legs were decorated with ankle bells and jewels, which rang very softly between the pleats of her sari. Rukmini's raised breasts were smeared with kumkum and saffron. Thus her beauty was enhanced by the reflection of the reddish color emanating from her covered breasts. The highly raised lower part of her buttocks was decorated with a jeweled lace girdle, and a locket of great effulgence hung on her neck. Above all, because she was engaged in the service of Lord Krishna, although at that time she was old enough to have grown-up sons,
She had bubble butt.
her beautiful body was beyond compare in the three worlds. When we take account of her beautiful face, it appears that the curling hair on her head, the beautiful earrings on her ears, her smiling mouth, and her necklace of gold all combined to shower rains of nectar, and it was definitely proved that Rukmini was none other than the original goddess of fortune, who was always engaged in the service of the lotus feet of Narayan.
Was that 2 paragraphs?
Yes.
Okay.
Race bone.
So I have Rasangi after you. Are you there to read, or are you busy walking, Rasangi? Okay, my turn then.
Sorry, yes, I'm walking.
Uh,
I'll let you
okay,
know
thank
when
you. The
can.
pastimes of Krishna and Rukmini in Dwarka are the pastimes of Krishna and Rukmini in Dwarka are accepted by great authorities as manifestations of those of Narayan and Lakshmi, which are of an exalted opulence. The pastimes of Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan are simple and rural, distinguished from the polished urban characteristics of those of Dwarka. The characteristics of Rukmini were unusually bright, and Krishna was very much satisfied with her behavior. Krishna had experienced that when Rukmini was offered a parijata flower by Narada Muni, Satyabhama had become envious of her co-wife and had immediately demanded a similar flower from Krishna. In fact, she could not be pacified until she was promised the whole tree. That was actually done by Krishna. The tree was brought down to the earth planet from the heavenly kingdom. After this episode, Krishna expected that because Satyabhama had been rewarded by a full tree of parijata, Rukmini would also demand something. Rukmini did not mention anything of the incident, however, for she was grave and simply satisfied in her service. Krishna wanted to see her a bit irritated, and therefore he schemed in order to see the beautiful face of Rukmini in an irritated condition. Although Krishna had more than 16,100 wives, he used to behave with each of them with familial affection. He would create a particular situation between himself and his wife, in which the wife would criticize him in the irritation of love. And Krishna would enjoy this. Now, how many husbands enjoy being criticized by their wives? I'm not sure. We have not developed that taste yet.
It's Krishna's fault.
What's that? It's
We can blame Krishna. It's Krishna's fault, all of this. As above, so below.
right.
And 16,108. Come on.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And you guys complain about a little bitching and moaning from one wife. Come on, guys.
Good one, Rasangi. Krishna's getting the sauce from 16,100.
Well,
And enjoying it.
And enjoying it. Yeah. Taking it as love, actually. Taking it as love. I'm not sure. I never made it to that point. I guess that's why I got divorced. Rukmini was the daughter of King Bhishmaka, a powerful king. Thus, Krishna did not address her as Rukmini.
Hey, I have to owe you one.
Yeah, one. And
Hello?
Another one, the silver one.
Put your mute on, please.
yeah, you can't use a little needle.
Sorry.
Yeah,
So,
please. Yeah, thank you. Thus, Krishna did not address her as Rukmini. He addressed her this time as the princess. My dear princess, it is very surprising. Many great personalities in the royal order wanted to marry you, although not all of them were kings. All possessed the opulence and riches of the kingly order. They were well behaved, learned, famous among kings, beautiful in their bodily features and personal qualifications, liberal, very powerful in strength, and advanced in every respect. They were not unfit in any way, and over and above that, your father and your brother had no objection to such marriages. On the contrary, they gave their word of honor. But you would be married with Shishupal. The marriage was sanctioned by your parents. Shishupal was a great king and was so lusty and mad after you, after your beauty, that if he had married you, I think he would have always have remained with you, just like your faithful servant, Krishna Chandra.
In comparison to Shishupal, with his personal qualities, I am nothing, and you may personally realize it. I am surprised that you rejected the marriage with Shishupal and accepted me, who am inferior in comparison to Shishupal. I think myself completely unfit to be your husband because you are so beautiful, sober, grave, and exalted. May I inquire from you the reason that induced you to accept me? Now, of course, I can address you as my beautiful wife, but still, I may inform you of my actual position, that I am inferior to all those princes who wanted to marry you. First of all, you may know that I was so much afraid of Jarasandha that I could not dare live on the land. And thus I have constructed this house within the water of the sea. It is not my business to disclose this secret to others, but you must know that I am not very heroic. I am a coward and I'm afraid of them. Still, I am not safe because all the great kings of the land are inimical to me. I have personally created this inimical feeling by fighting with them in many ways. Although fault is that although I am on the throne of Dwarka, I have no immediate claim. Although I got a kingdom by killing my maternal uncle Kamsa, the kingdom was to go to my grandfather. So actually, I have no possession of a kingdom. Besides that, I have no fixed aim in life. People cannot understand me very well. What is the ultimate goal of my life? They know very well that I was a cowherd boy in Vrindavan. People expected that I would follow the footsteps of my foster father, Nanda Maharaj, and be faithful to Srimati Radharani and all her friends in the village of Vrindavan. But all of a sudden, I left them. I wanted to become a famous prince. Still, I could not have any kingdom, nor could I rule as a prince. People are bewildered about my ultimate goal of life, yet they do not know whether I am a cowherd boy or a prince, whether I am the son of Nanda Maharaj or the son of Vasudeva. Because I have no fixed aim in life, people may call me a vagabond. Therefore, I am surprised that you could select such a vagabond husband.
I think it is. I'm just trying to look at the screen right now. I think it's Daneshwar Prabhu's turn, isn't it?
Yep.
Yep.
Besides this, I am not very much polished, even in social etiquette. A person should be satisfied with one wife, but you see, I have married many times and I have more than 16,000 wives. I cannot please all of them as a polished husband. My behavior with them is not very nice, and I know you are very much conscious of it. I sometimes create a situation with my wives, which is not very happy. Because I was trained in a village in my childhood, I am not well acquainted with the etiquette of urban life. I do not know the way to please a wife with nice words and behavior. And from practical experience, it is found that any woman who follows my way or becomes attracted to me is ultimately left to cry for the rest of her life. In Vrindavan, many gopis were attracted to me, and now I have left them. And they are living, but are simply crying for me in separation. I have heard from Akura and Uddhava that since I left Vrindavan, all my cowherd boyfriends, the gopis and Radharani, and my foster father, Nanda Maharaj, are simply crying constantly for me. I have left Vrindavan for good, and am now engaged with the queens in Dwarka. I'm not very well behaved with any of you. So you can very easily understand that I have no steadiness of character. I'm not a very reliable husband. The net result of being attracted to me is to acquire a life of bereavement only. My dear beautiful princess, you may also know that I'm always penniless. Just after my birth, I was carried penniless to the house of Nanda Maharaj, and I was raised just like a coward boy. Although my foster father possessed many hundreds of thousands of cows, I was not the proprietor of even one of them. I was simply entrusted to take care of them and tend to them, but I was not the proprietor. Here also, I am not the proprietor of anything, but am always penniless. There is no cause to lament for such a penniless condition. I possessed nothing in the past, so why should I lament that I do not possess anything at present? We should all think like this, huh?
Mhm.
You may note also that my devotees are not very opulent persons. They also are very poor in worldly goods. Those who are very rich, possessing worldly wealth, are not interested in devotion to me or Krishna consciousness. On the contrary, when a person becomes penniless, whether by force or by circumstances, he may become interested in me if he gets the proper opportunity. Persons who are proud of their riches, even if they are offered association with my devotees, do not take advantage of consciousness of me. In other words, the poorer class of men may have some interest in me, but the richer class of men have no interest. I think, therefore, that your selection of me was not very intelligent. You appear to be very intelligent, trained by your father and brother, but ultimately you have made a great mistake in selecting your life's companion.
So Dineshwar
Oh,
Prabhu,
Rukmini.
what do you make of what Krishna said? Why is Krishna denigrating himself like this? What about Rukmini? Poor Rukmini.
Yeah,
Please comment.
he wants her to get angry, but she's not going to.
Do you have some comment on this section, please?
Yeah, this is maybe
Oh, the
when we
training?
read
Yeah.
on, there will be the passage where actually Narada Muni, he sees that Kali Yuga is coming, and he becomes so disturbed. He's crying. He's really crying. So he enters the palace right at that time. I think it's just about to happen where she faints. And I'll tell you after we read a few things. What I heard from Gopa Brinda Paul is actually is the precursor to Krishna appearing as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But
Cool.
we need
Would
to
you
keep reading.
would you or Bavatrini like to read now?
Sure, I'm able. She had to do something. She'll be back.
And after that, it's Rasangi if she has stopped her walk, and then the Patni.
Penniless condition. Okay, where are we?
No harm.
But there is no harm. It is better than late than never. You're at liberty to select a suitable husband who is actually equal to you in opulence, family tradition, wealth, beauty, education, in all respects. Whatever mistakes you may have made may be forgotten. Now you may chalk out your own lucrative path of life. Usually a person does not establish a marital relationship with a person who is either higher or lower than his position. My dear daughter of the king of Vidarbha, I think you did not consider very sagaciously before your marriage. Thus, you made a wrong selection by choosing me as your husband. You mistakenly heard about my having very exalted character, although factually I was nothing more than a beggar. Without seeing me and my actual position, simply by hearing about me, you selected me as your husband. That was not very highly rightly done. Therefore, I advise you that it is better late than never. You can now select one of the great Kshatriya princes and accept him as your life's companion, and you can reject me. Oh, wow. What a joker. Shall I keep reading?
Yes.
Krishna was proposing
I don't know.
that.
Was that just okay? Sorry, I wasn't sure if it was one or two paragraphs. Go ahead.
Okay. Krishna was proposing that Rukmini divorced him at a time when Rukmini already had many grown-up children. Therefore, Krishna's whole position to Rukmini appeared to be something unexpected, because according to Vedic culture, there was no such thing as separation of husband and wife by divorce, nor was it possible for Rukmini to do so in advanced age, when she had many married sons. Each and every one of Krishna's proposals appeared to Rukmini to be crazy, and she was surprised that Krishna would say such things. Simple as she was, her anxiety was increasing more and more at the thought of separation from Krishna.
Nandapatni, are you available to read?
I can read.
You can read now?
I can read.
Oh, you mean back.
Back.
Hari said you weren't there. Okay.
Well,
He
she just
lied.
came back.
Please continue.
Krishna continued, after all, you have to prepare yourself for your next life. I therefore advise that you select someone who can help you both in this life and the next life, for I am completely unable to help. My dear beautiful princess, you know that all the members of the princely order, including Shishupal, Salva, Jarasandha, Dantavakra, and even your elder brother Rukmini, are all my enemies. They do not like me at all. They hate me from the cores of their heart. All these principles,
Princes.
all these princes were very much puffed up with their worldly possessions, and they did not care a fig for anyone who came before them. In order to teach them some lessons, I agreed to kidnap you according to your desire. Otherwise, I actually have no love for you.
Oh my God.
Although you loved me even before the marriage. As I have already explained, I am not very much interested in family life or love between husband and wife.
It's too late, Krishna.
By nature, I am not very fond of family life, wife, children, home, and opulences. As my devotees are always neglectful of all these worldly possessions, I am also like that. Actually, I'm interested in self-realization. That gives me pleasure, and not this family life. After submitting his statement, Lord Krishna stopped suddenly.
It sounds like one of the Radha Damodar boys. That was the philosophy.
Yeah.
Nandapatni, are you available? Nandapatni? Are you there?
I think she said she was working and listening according to
Oh.
the chat.
Okay, Rasangi, are you finished your walk? Okay, out of commission. The great authority. Let's see. Did anyone else come? Let me have a look.
It's your turn, Gaura.
Okay. No, I thought because Nitya Leela called earlier, so I wanted to see if she had arrived. Okay. The great authority Shukadev Goswami remarks that Krishna almost always passed his time with Rukmini, and Rukmini was a bit proud to be so fortunate that Krishna never left her for a moment. Krishna, however, well, actually, did Krishna leave any of these 16,100 queens for a moment? I mean, he was with all of them simultaneously, wasn't he? I don't know.
Yep.
Krishna, however, does not like any of his devotees to be proud. As soon as a devotee becomes sold by some tactic, he cuts down that pride. In this case, also, Krishna said many things which were hard for Rukmini to hear. She could only conclude that although she was proud of her position, Krishna could be separated from her at any moment. Rukmini was conscious that her husband was not an ordinary human being. He was the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the master of the three worlds. By the way he was speaking, she was afraid of being separated from the Lord, for she had never heard such harsh words from Krishna before. Thus she became perplexed with fear of separation, and her heart began to palpitate. Without replying to a word of Krishna's statement, she simply cried in great anxiety, as if being drowned in an ocean of grief. She silently scratched the ground with the nails of her toes, which were reflecting reddish light on the ground. The tears from her eyes were pink, mixed with the black cosmetic ointment from her eyelids, and the waters were dropping down, washing the kumkum and saffron from her breasts. Choked up on account of great anxiety, unable to speak even a word, she kept her head downward and remained standing just like a stick. Due to extremely painful fearfulness and lamentation, she lost all her reasoning powers and became so weak that immediately her body lost so much weight that the bangles of her wrists became slackened. The chamara rod, which she was serving Krishna, immediately fell from her hand. Her brain and memory became puzzled, and she lost consciousness. The nicely combed hair on her head scattered here and there, and she fell down straight like a banana tree, cut down by a whirlwind. Wow. So I've got Krishna Chandra next, and then Dineshwar Prabhu.
Right. Lord Krishna,
Lord Krishna.
yes, Lord Krishna immediately realized that Rukmini had not taken his words in a joking spirit. She had taken them very seriously, and in her extreme anxiety over immediate separation from him, she had fallen into this condition. Lord Sri Krishna is naturally very affectionate toward his devotees, and seeing Rukmini's condition, his heart immediately became softened. At once, he became merciful to her. The relationship between Krishna and Rukmini was as Lakshmi Narayan. Therefore, he appeared before her in his four-handed manifestation of Narayan. He got down from the bedstead and brought her up by her hands, and placing his cooling hands on her face, smoothed the scattered hairs on her head. Lord Krishna dried the wet breast of Rukminiji with his hand. Understanding the seriousness of Rukmini's love for him, he embraced her to his chest. The Supreme Personality is very expert in putting a thing reasonably for one's understanding, and thus he tried to retract all that he said before. He is the only resort for all the devotees, and so he knows very well how to satisfy his pure devotees. Krishna understood that Rukmini could not follow the statements which she had made in a joking way. To counteract her confusion, he again began to speak as follows.
Dineshwar.
My dear daughter of King Vidarbha, my dear Rukmini, please do not misunderstand me. Don't be unkind to me like this. I know you are sincerely and seriously attached to me. You are my eternal companion. The words which have affected you so much are not factual. I wanted to irritate you a bit, and I was expecting you to make counter answers to those joking words. Unfortunately, you have taken them seriously. I'm very sorry for it. I understand that your red lips would tremble in anger after on hearing my statement, and you would chastise me in many words. Oh, perfection of love, I never expected that your condition would be like this. I expected that you would put your put your blinking eyes upon me in retaliation. And in that way, I would be able to see a beautiful face in that angry mood. My dear wife, you know that we are householders. We are always busy in many household affairs. So we long for a time when we can enjoy some joking words between us. That is our ultimate game in household life. Actually, the householders work very hard day and night, but all fatigue of the day's labor becomes minimized as soon as they meet, husband and wife together, and enjoy life in many ways. Lord Krishna wanted to exhibit himself just as an ordinary householder who delights himself by exchanging joking words with his wife. He therefore repeatedly requested Rukmini not to take those words very seriously.
Well, Krishna teaches us how to apologize. I was just thinking sometimes as devotees, I won't speak for any of you, but I'll speak for myself, that I have sometimes found it difficult to apologize to others when I have offended them. And I know I appreciate it also when others apologize to me, because what it means to me is someone cares enough about my friendship with them that they might say that. Not that I need anybody to bow to me, but you just like to know that someone values a friendship with you enough that they would apologize. So I'm just thinking how Krishna is acting as the perfect apologist here. Does anyone have any comment before Nirhari and Bhavatrini continue? Okay, Nirhari, Bhavatrini, your turn.
In this way, when Lord Krishna pacified Rukmini by his sweet words, she could understand that what was formerly spoken by him was not actually meant, but was spoken to evoke some joking pleasure between themselves. She was therefore pacified by hearing the words of Krishna. Gradually, she was freed from all fearfulness of separation from him, and she began to look on his face very cheerfully, with her naturally smiling face. She said, "My dear lotus-eyed Lord, your statement that we are not a fit combination is completely right. It is not possible for me to come to an equal level with you because you are the reservoir of all qualities, the unlimited supreme personality of Godhead. How can I be a fit match for you? There is no possibility of comparison with you, who are the master of all greatness, controller of the three qualities and object of worship for great demigods like Brahma and Lord Shiva. As far as I am concerned, I'm a production of three modes of material nature." And the three modes of material nature are impediments towards the progressive advancement of devotional service. When and where can I be a fit match for you? My dear husband, you have rightly said also that being afraid of the kings, you have taken shelter in the water of the sea. But who is the king of this material world? I do not think that the so-called royal families are kings of the material world. The kings of the material world are the three modes of material nature. They are actually the controllers of this material world. You are situated in the core of everyone's heart, where you remain completely aloof from the touch of the three modes of material nature, and there is no doubt about it.
That was two.
That was
I
two.
was expecting that after Krishna told her he was joking, that he would say,
Wait a minute, your voice,
"Right,
your voice got
she
blurry.
was pretty
Start again. Say again. It all
Frozen.
blurred right out. It wasn't clear. You froze.
Yeah,
Start again, Prabhu.
I'm expecting that. Is it now? Is it better now?
No, now,
Little, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, my connection's not very good, but I'll wait. Maybe it'll improve later.
Okay, you were thinking that
Sorry.
what? You were thinking what?
That Rukmini would then joke with him and say, "Oh, you're right. I think Shishupal was a better match. I think I should go be with him."
but she's not Satyabhama, and neither Radharani.
She's Chandravali.
She's Pranavali, so she's the queen of submissiveness.
Yeah.
What Rukmini is who? Chandravali?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know. Okay. Uh-huh.
Yeah, but I was saying just as a joke. He said, okay,
yeah.
you want a joke? Well, here, I'll make a joke.
Yeah. Yeah, I
No,
think you're right. I think I'll go hang out with Shishupal.
but it's not to insult her, but Prabhupada calls her simple. If you in the paragraphs that we read before,
Yeah.
he called Rukmini being simple-hearted.
Hmm.
Yeah, she's not,
She didn't get the joke.
yeah.
That's right.
Like Daneshwar, I was expected to. Oh, now it's time for her comeback. You know what?
Right.
Yeah, right.
But
Okay. Two can play that game.
Yeah. Yeah, you were right, Krishna. I really blew it. Oh, Krishna. Okay,
you
Baba
don't see
Srini,
that
is it?
happen between the gopis and Krishna. They always defeat him.
No, but Chandravali doesn't.
No,
Can
Chandravali.
can I say something too?
No.
Sure.
This just goes to prove, Krishna likes when he's called names, Lampat, Chur. He loves that. So he's proving again that he still loves these queens with their submissive mood, but he really, really likes when the gopis abuse him. It's so intense. That's so heavy. You know what I mean? This shows it again that he wants that sparring. He likes that spirit.
Hmm.
But
Yeah,
in a joking way.
I know, but
Yeah.
it's all based on love, though. But
Yeah.
that's that we have to understand that. It's like,
Oh, of course.
yeah,
But but we're getting insight into Krishna's nature, what really pleases him the most, huh?
right.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
so in the Chaitanya Charitamrita says, I'm not captured by this. What was it? Actually, this Aishwarya, this awe and reverence, love, is not attractive to me. It would only bring us to Vaikuntha, and that's where kind of in a way is Vaikuntha, and in a way it's not. But there's still some fear and awe and reverence. There's that contractual
Respect.
arrangement with they're married to Krishna, whereas
Wow.
Radharani and his gopis, her expansions are love. And
Yes,
so
you're right.
it's different. He can't get away with things like that. And besides, they're so clever; they always defeat him.
Very, very good point. Thank you.
Yeah, it's just I'm repeating my. It's not my speculation. I'm just repeating what I remember hearing from and reading from different acharyas and from Prabhupada and Chaitanya Charitamrita, actually, that it's very important to make that distinction. And
Yeah, but you're correct, because it's Vaikuntha and it's on reverence. It's not that intimacy,
Yeah.
and so they can't even joke in that way, right?
Right. So like the Srimad Bhagavatam is a gradation. It starts us up with the devotees who are in awe and reverence, and then you go all gradation, all the way. Then you got the Pandavas who are like really intimate, but still there's a little bit of fear there.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm sorry. I treated you like my best friend. I slept, you slept right next to me. I joked and I grabbed you and I played with you like that. I'm so sorry. Oh, Param Dhamma, Param Brahma. It's like that. His relationship is now it's a little different. And,
Right.
And that Krishna says that doesn't capture my heart. And then we later on find out that actually Arjuna also aspires and he gets a gopi body. We were listening to Indradumna Maharaj and reading from acharyas and poets contemporary to Jiva Goswami, and it's amazing. And yes, so we get in a little more insights of what they think and how it is.
Satyabhama is a direct expansion of Radharani, and she goes into Man. She even has a chamber. When she's angry, she goes and she takes all her jewelry off and she tears her clothes and she digs her feet and fingers in the dirt. And she's so sulky. But because he's married to her, he says, you can go back to your father. This is before he was murdered. She goes, why don't you just go back?
That's what I felt like telling my former wife. But anyway, go ahead.
Krishna says there's a dialogue, and I think it's Gopal Champu, where he says, "Yeah, that's maybe Uddhava is talking, talking. Says, yeah, let her go back to her father. She's just like her father. Let her go back."
Nrihari, I have a question for you then, because what you're saying in terms of they're having this Aishvarya, respect, awe, and reverence for Krishna's Aishvarya, but at the same time now, Krishna, the whole story begins with Krishna wanting to see Rukmini chastise him and get angry with him. But what you said later tells us that no, they don't do that. So can you explain that seeming contradiction?
Oh, that's a good one. And I wouldn't want to speculate, but I just remember certain passages. For example, Raghunath Das, he writes that there is a verse where he says, and actually Bhaktivinoda Thakur puts it in a song, that even if you offer me direct service to you, I will never leave the feet of my Swamini. Even if you offer me to go to Dwarka and be there, because so they all think, why don't we go there? But it's not, it'll be Rasavasa. It'll be, I mean, you don't see the possibility of them dancing on the beach of the Arabian Sea. No, the Jamuna has to be there, Braja has to be there. Is that when they encounter each other in Kurukshetra, he said, yeah, we're here, but it's not here. It's not when we used to meet underneath the Tasi tree. That goes the point. But and so yeah, it's just so expertly played. These are not very simple and logically explainable, or to a certain point, yes, but really it goes beyond that. So pastimes are very complex, and the only way to really understand them is by bhajan, is by and absorbing what other acharyas have realized about this. So, but to be specific, can you go back to what you were asking?
Well, it's just the whole chapter begins with Krishna wanting to tease Rukmini and wanting to see her become angry with him.
Right.
But the relationship is not like that. She's too much afraid of losing him to be able to do that. And we take it that, at least when you were explaining, yes, about the Aishvarya nature of Krishna and Dwarka, that this would, let's say, have very strong influence over those relationships. So it seems to me that why Krishna is asking for something that probably is not even hardly ever seen there in Dwarka, like it is in Vrindavan.
Yeah, it's for him to know and us to find out. But actually, he's teaching us that, the whole thing is, the pastime is that for us to train and to understand what is the highest.
Glorify Radharani.
And so, yeah,
and that's why he's always lamenting and wanting to be back in Vrindavan.
Yes.
Favorite.
And
everybody, that's his favorite leelas. Those are his favorite moods. Can you believe that God doesn't want to be worshipped? That he more appreciates this playful bantering and this teasing and these exchanges of they're harsh words, they call him names, they're angry at him. They're not pretending either.
Krishna likes to get the sauce.
He likes it. I mean, that's inconceivable.
The hot sauce.
Prabhupada gives that example of the the lawyer who went to see the high court judge, and the judge kept him waiting.
Right.
And finally, the lawyer becomes frustrated. He opens the door to see what's the judge doing, taking so long. And he's on his floor, crawling around the floor with his grandchild on his back. So, like they say, it's lonely at the top, and that's true here also. We want love and intimacy. Everybody does.
Yes, and marriage is unfortunately, or whatever it is, it's just that level of intimacy or won't be there as lovers have it. So that's why he sends Uddhava to Vrindavan, to see what's the highest love and how they behave.
Uh-huh.
And also to have somebody to sympathize, somebody to understand him. Because he cries every night. He's soaking the pillows. The queens don't know what to do. So they know. I mean, he laments. He calls his cows. He calls his friends. He calls the gopis constantly, every night. It's there on the Acharya's books. It's not. So that's one of the purposes. One is to promote Uddhava in his love, and the other one is to have also since Uddhava is his minister, is confident. He's like so close to him, the Tadiya, they're like one in thought. So he wanted to have him knowing and learning from the gopis.
I have the Sarartha Darshini lined up, so as soon as we finish this, if you want to get more insights from Srila Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur, I'm ready to go. If you want that.
Oh, that's a nice idea.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm eager to go there. So Bhavatrini, could you please finish these 2 paragraphs?
As soon as I see them.
Oh, excuse me.
That's another thing to do.
You say.
Not yet. Oh, there they are.
Who's
You
speaking
say,
here? This is Rukmini still.
yes, you
Yeah.
say you always maintain enmity with the worldly kings. But who are the worldly kings? I think the worldly kings are the senses. They are most formidable and they control everyone. Certainly you maintain enmity with these material senses. You are never under the control of the senses. Rather, you are the controller of the senses. Hrishikesh, my dear Lord, you have said that you are bereft of all royal power, and that is also correct. Not only are you bereft of material world supremacy, but even your servants, those who have some attachment to your lotus feet, also give up the material world supremacy because they consider the material position to be the darkest region, which checks the progress of spiritual enlightenment. Your servants do not like material supremacy. So what to speak of you, my dear Lord? Your statement that you do not act as an ordinary person with a particular aim in life is also perfectly correct. Even your great devotees and servants, known as great sages and saintly persons, remain in such a state that no one can get any clue to the aim of their lives. They are considered by the human society to be crazy and cynical. Their aim of life remains a mystery to the common human being. The lowest of mankind can know neither you nor your servant. A contaminated human being cannot even imagine the pastimes of you and your devotees. O unlimited one, when the activities and endeavors of your devotees remain a mystery to the common human being, how can they understand your motive and endeavor? All kinds of energies and opulences are engaged in your service, but still they are resting at your shelter. You have described yourself as penniless, but this condition is not poverty, since there is nothing in existence but yourself. You do not require to possess anything. You yourself are everything. Unlike others, you do not require to purchase anything extraneously. With you, all contrary things can be adjusted because you are absolute. You do not possess anything, but no one is richer than you. In the material world, no one can be rich without possessing. Since your lordship is absolute, you can adjust the contradiction of possessing nothing, but at the same time being the richest. In the Vedas, it is stated that although you have no material hands and legs, you accept everything which is offered in devotion by the devotees. You have no material eyes and ears, but still you can see everything everywhere, and you can hear everything everywhere. Although you do not possess anything, the great demigods who accept prayers and worship from others come and worship you to solicit your mercy. How can you be categorized among the poor?
That's
My dear
her reply regarding Krishna's devotees. That's certainly true regarding my parents. They think of me. They think, "What's the matter with this guy?" You know, he's got a master's degree in engineering, and he's wasting his life.
Yeah, mine thought the same.
But then they became devotees.
But then they became devotees.
They just thought
Actually-
it for a minute.
And mostly my mom.
Then
but-
they read Prabhupada's books, and it was all over.
That was always reading.
That's by your grace.
No, it's Prabhupada's got a lot to do with it.
I like the statement that your devotees do not desire material superiority. And I just, contrasted that with Biden in Ukraine versus Putin and, Trudeau's attack on his own citizens. And even in ISKCON, we, with all due respect to it, I'm not just particularly pointing them out because, in all Vaishnav Sanghas, I'm sure there's a tendency for one-upmanship. This one wanting, like Radha Govinda Maharaj pointed at the Krishna Balaram Mandir when I went to visit him, and he said, "You know what the problem is over there?" I said, "What, Maharaj?" He said, "The problem over there is that they equate a managerial position with that of one's level of spiritual advancement, but it is not so." So I was thinking that this is probably a form of material superiority, right? Thinking, oh, because I'm the head of this department or because I'm the temple commander or whatever position one has. That's a form of, it could be seen as a form of material superiority, right?
Yeah, well, you can say Prakrita Bhaktas certainly think in that way
Uh-huh.
because their material position has increased. Therefore, they equate that with their spiritual position. But that's indicative of their being Prakrita Bhakta.
Their lack of spiritual advancement, right?
Lack of understanding,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah,
lack of adhikar, basically.
right. Okay. Let me see. Where are we here? Where did you finish? Where did you finish? Was it here? How can you be characterized among the poor? Is that where you
Poor,
finished?
yeah. You finish at the poor.
Okay. My dear Lord, you have also stated that the richest section of human society does not worship you. This is also correct because persons who are puffed up with material possessions think of utilizing their property for sense gratification. When a poverty-stricken man becomes rich, he makes a program for sense gratification. This is due to his ignorance of how to utilize his hard-earned money. Under the spell of the external energy, he thinks that his money is properly employed in sense gratification, and thus he neglects to render transcendental service. My dear Lord, you have stated that persons who possess nothing are very dear to you, renouncing everything. Your devotee wants to possess you only. I see, therefore, that a great sage like Narada Muni, who does not possess any material property, is still very dear to you. And such persons do not care for anything but your lordship. This reminds me of a prayer of Queen Kunti. How did it go? Janmaishvarya Shruta Shribir Adamana Madap Puman Naivarti Apitatung Vai Tvam Akinchana Gocharam. Akinchana Gocharam. That Krishna becomes the property of those who want nothing but him. Janma, high parentage, Aishvarya, wealth, Shruta, high education, IQ, and Shribir, bodily beauty. Such persons, they'll have difficulty having you because they become enamored by all their good karma. That just came to me. My dear Lord, yes.
Akinchan is a key word, and that
Don't
many
time out.
Huh? Go ahead.
misunderstand.
Go
Sorry, I was.
ahead.
So yeah, sannyasis are given that title sometimes. Akinchan. They're destitute, but they're
Right.
destitute
Akinchana
of any.
Daspapani.
Yeah, but Prabhupada was a
Akinchana
Kinchan.
Daspapani.
And somebody will say,
Yes.
oh,
Yeah.
Prabhupada had what, 108 temples,
Right.
hundreds of lands, vehicles, money, buildings, all that stuff. But then again, he was not attached. He didn't have particular, well, the residence you can say there was Vrindavan, but there's no attachment. So yeah, it's, I think to think about how, because otherwise poor people are the highest in spiritual advancement. We don't see that always happening. Devotees might be at times, a lot of devotees are destitute, or not destitute, but they're,
The the Russian aristocrat who was at
Tolstoy?
Tolstoy.
Oh yes.
Yes. He was looking around. He was observing the behavior of the people in the church, and he wanted to find out. He had some doubts about religion, and so he was looking to see where those people, where their behavior actually matched what it says in the scripture. And he looked, and the people of his class, they were all hypocrites. And similarly, he looked at the priestly class, they were all hypocrites. And finally, he found that it was the peasants who were the honest devotees, the poorest ones. They were honest devotees. They were actually trying to follow what scripture said. And he wanted to associate with them, which really bewildered all of his peers.
That sounds like the story of St. Francis of Assisi.
That's material. It's a good material example, but still, it's like Arjuna, you speak in foolish words.
Yeah.
Because Bhakti Pragyan Kesava showed that one time, and they were all devotees there, his god brothers, and there was somebody that came to beg. They were out in, I think, Calcutta somewhere, poor man, and beggar. He said, "Oh, well, then just come with us. Come with us. You live in the mud. You renounce everything." Oh, no way. Even when he had nothing, he was still aspiring to have some sense enjoyment.
You're talking about Tolstoy?
No, well, Tolstoy will be one. I'm just talking about the example Bhakti Pragyan Kesava was given is that poverty is not equal advancement, spiritual advancement.
Yeah. But Tolstoy, basically, he became a sannyasi toward the end of his life.
Yeah, he gave up all his fortune. He just distributed it all. They thought he was crazy.
Yeah. He had some correspondence with Gandhi, and he of course, read Bhagavad Gita. He was a very sincere person. His writings are quite amazing.
Right. Yes.
Well, due to Gandhi's influence, my family and relatives were very much impressed by Gandhi. And I thought that poor people were just automatically better and more advanced than rich people. So I was very wealthy, so I gave up everything and became a poor person. I was a hippie. And I noticed that poor people were rich people without money. There was every class of bad quality in poor people as there was in rich people. So being poor didn't make someone good.
Yeah, well,
anger, greed, lust, still they're in the heart, so it doesn't matter if they have money or they don't have money.
But someone who renounces due to spiritual desires and becomes poor, they can be a nice poor person and have better qualities once they become poor. But I don't think being poor is a
Yeah,
qualification.
because we're not tyagis.
No.
Acharya says that when we become like that, tyagis, hard-hearted, actually we're giving hardship to Paramatma, but one becomes hard-hearted with renunciation, with tyaga. So then it becomes a pendulum, boga, tyaga.
There's it's actually quite an involved discussion in my study of spiritual economics. You can look at the early Christians. I won't go on here, just a short comment. But the actual followers of Jesus, they wanted to live a life of renunciation, and they did share all things in common, and so on like that. And of course, they were inspiring to many people who wanted to follow their good example, but people in general found that they couldn't do it. And of course, the reason is that really, without having some, let's say, that tyaga is a concomitant result of spiritual progress, not the cause of spiritual progress.
Right. So all these things, including anartha nivritti and like that, they're like as a result of advancement in spiritual life.
Right.
Some of our God brothers came to Narayan Maharaj and Mara Maharaj, and they came to say, oh, we can't get there because of our anarthas. We're just like, what about these offenses? Until we clear them, we cannot get to hear about these things, higher
Lila.
pastimes and like that, lila and like that. So he asked for Maharaj asked for a bowl, a glass of water, and a pitcher with water. And then he told the signs among them, there were some of the institute where there are God brothers. And he said, okay, well, how do you empty the bowl?
Air out of the bowl.
Get the air out of the bowl. Oh, well, we can just cover it and then do some suction vacuum, and then we get the air. But he said it will take, it's quite laborious, they have to have good condition.
Might not be complete.
Might not be,
Still
as we know in physics, you can't have a zero vacuum. I mean, it's impossible, but whatever. But, and so Maharaj said, okay, give me the glass. That glass is like half full, and give me the pitcher. And then he proceeded to pour water into the glass, and all the air was gone.
Yeah.
Very quick. And so he said, similarly, when you fill your life with Harikatha and listening, very important, this is very important, listening to the pure devotee, as we're doing now, because reading is kind of, we're listening to Prabhupada. The best is, his audio, and super best is visual, and then the best is like when we were with him, but in person. But that's the key. That's the key. It's called Artha Pavriti. Artha Pavriti. Instead of Anartha Pavriti. Anartha Pavriti is there. Anartha Nivriti is there. But the only way that's going to work is by Artha Pavriti. So putting the positive. Yeah, Pavriti.
Yeah.
So I like that about Prabhupada always who says that. No, don't do this, don't do that. I say, okay, but what's the positive?
Yeah.
Nobody's gonna last that long negating the senses, all because we understand it. No, we have to have a higher taste. Remember those books we used to distribute, Higher Taste? So for me, lately, it's been coming to that discussion among some devotees. We're in another Zoom meeting, and it was that the host understood that point that Maharaj was saying. You might not be ready for Raganuga Marga, but the inspiration to come to that, to aspire to be like or follow, to aspire to follow in the footsteps of the Ragatmika devotees. that is there is no prohibition on that. It's like a man, this, ugly, destitute, poor, old, and all of a sudden the princess goes by in her car, Princess Diane goes by and says, oh, I'd like to marry her. Well, there's no provision in what, in his thought, his desire is there. And so then by the desire and association, that this association is what's most important, sadhusanga, sadhusanga. So these things will be awakened and practiced correctly. And we always have to practice, we're sadhakas. But it's not that first the regulation is gonna make us devotees.
Yeah.
Prabhupada introduced all these regulations gradually, didn't he? I mean, one time, actually, after a while, what was it? Was famous. It was a sign in the kitchen, or minimum things to do. You remember about Trini?
Yeah.
That was
Anyhow,
before initiation. Prabhupada wrote down the regulative principles.
yeah. And Govinda Maharaj from Saraswati Mat, some people started criticizing. Said, Maharaj, you never tell people to follow the 4 regulative principles. Says, do I have to? Don't they know that already?
He said, that's not spiritual practice, that's civilized human life.
Yeah, because we have the impersonalists, they also follow them. I mean, the serious ones. So
I have one other
yeah.
point. Can I mention something?
Please.
So I don't know if this was spoken at one of our gatherings, but I heard, when Prabhupada was sitting at the thatched hut on the Mayapur project, was happy. He was happy. Did we talk about that last week? That he was happy walking to the river and just taking walks in the open fields. And he was very, very content like that. He said, but if we live like this, nobody will come. So build big temples. Nobody will come if we just have a little thatched hut. People want, are attracted to the opulence and the grandeur of
especially the other Bengalis who already live in thatched huts.
That's why they like coming to ISKCON, because it's like coming to a mansion.
It's like when Bhattarini had a Cadillac that had 10 miles on it.
Yeah.
It was the top of the line car. So Kirtananda he wrote Prabhupada, he had that car. Prabhupada wanted it immediately. So, and Prabhupada in that letter, he says, imagine if they see me coming in through the villages with a car like this, they'll think I'm a demigod. Anything to become attractive to the pure devotee is good. So, I mean, here we have Prabhupada is the master of time and circumstance. When we try to do something like that, it'll come out really bad.
I heard that when Vishnu Jan Swami took his boat, the Nitai Pada Kamala, and he went down the Ganga and stopped at different villages, some people thought that he was like a demigod, or even Lord Chaitanya. They were like so impressed by him.
Oh yeah, I imagine seeing Vishnu. I don't know if you saw him, but I did. I talked to him. I mean, he was amazing looking. Not that it wasn't really like a demigod should come in.
I know this is off the point, but I got a great book at Badger this week, a book on Krishnadas Babaji, Krishnadas Babaji Maharaj. And it's by Babru, with an introduction by Ashram Maharaj. And he quotes Bhagavat in there. And
no, that's not Ashram Maharaj. As far as I know, it's a different Babru.
No, they're two different people. Babru with a forward by B.A. Ashram Maharaj, who lives in Hawaii, right?
Okay. Yeah, he does. He lives in Honolulu.
Yeah. And Babru is a different. I know Babru used the ashram we know Maharaj said used to be named Babru. That's what Raghavendra said. But this is two different people.
Right.
I mean.
Right.
Anyway, what an amazing man he was, and the stories of his little miracles and how loved he was by everyone. And he could go to any of the Gaudiya Mats and be welcomed, and he would just flit around, and he was so kind to the ISKCON devotees. Maybe some of the devotees have some contact with him, but I'm deeply moved by hearing about his life and his renunciation and his sweetness and his powerful chanting and his love for Srila Prabhupada, his predictions of Srila Prabhupada's greatness, and his man of few words, mostly silent, except if he was chanting 16 hours a day of japa, 8 hours a day of kirtan, bhajan. That's 24 hours a day. Anyway, I'm just sharing that.
I met him at Govardhan. I was doing Rajmandala Parikram, and a godbrother pointed out, hey, that's Krishnadas Babaji Maharaj over there. And he was doing the, I believe he was doing the, what's it called? Dandavat Parikram?
Sastang Dandavat around.
I'm not sure if he was, but anyway, he was hobbling along the path there, and I went and I offered my obeisances to him. And I can't even remember what I was that I said to him. I'm not sure if it was a question or just a statement. I felt so honored to be in his presence. And his response to me, as it was to many things, was Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. He was like laughing the Maha Mantra. I'd never heard anybody laugh the Maha Mantra. You know, like we chant the Maha Mantra, but he was Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna.
I know.
I was blown away by him. I was just like stunned.
This little book talks, Uttama Shloka had a relationship with him. He would track him down. He would bring his equipment. He would record. He would
bring Gopati's equipment. It was Gopati's. I was there. Go ahead.
Anyway, and then he was very kind to Richie Slavin, who was Radhanath Swami, right, patting him on the head when he was sick in the hospital, almost near death. Krishnadas Babaji came to visit him.
Wow.
I mean, there's a lot of wonderful pastimes. I don't think he gets much acknowledgement, but he was such a great soul. And you know what else? Srila Saraswati Thakur, the devotees in the temple were really angry that he would just go chant. He would chant all day long, and they were all doing seva. And they were resentful and a little envious, and they went to Srila Saraswati Thakur. He said, leave him alone. He can do that. He has my permission. And after that, he left. He went away after the controversy.
You cut out. Your voice is gone. Can't hear you. Sorry. Okay.
Yeah, you've seen his samadhi or in this little temple there is there in Vrindavan. It's near, it's at the shore of this lagoon, this god. And,
I don't know, another call was coming in. Did you hear that part? Sorry.
No, you got cut off.
Did you hear that part? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Now we can.
You're going in and out.
I know, I got a call. I'll just finish this last thing. He left a mission. He was really getting a lot of flack for his just wanting to chant day and night, And at one point he left, and Srila Saraswati Thakur was totally devastated. He said, we must go get him back. Go bring him back. So Ban Maharaj was sent to find him and bring him back. And they made all arrangements for him in the temple. Yeah.
Nitya Leela, thank you. Sorry, go finish, Rasangi.
Finished.
Nitya Leela, welcome. Glad you finally made it. Could you please, you're the only one that didn't read besides Rasangi. Nitya Leela, can you read, please? Is Krishna speaking? No, this is Rukmini speaking to Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Pranams and to Lotus Feet. My dear Lord, you have advised me that I can still select another from the princely order and divorce myself of your companionship. But my dear Lord, it is perfectly well known to me that you are the reservoir of all good qualities. Great saintly persons like Narada Muni are always engaged simply in glorifying your transcendental characteristics. If someone simply takes shelter of such a saintly person, he immediately becomes free from all material contamination. And by coming in direct contact with your service, the goddess of fortune agrees to bestow all her blessings. Under the circumstances, what woman who has once heard of your glories from authoritative sources and somehow or other has tasted the nectarian flavor of yourself, lotus feet, your lotus feet can be foolish enough to agree to marry someone of this material world who is always afraid of death, disease, old age, and rebirth. I have therefore accepted your lotus feet not without considerations, but after mature and deliberate decision. It should be scrolled down. May I kindly request to scroll down? I mean, I could not see further after my, yeah, thanks very much. My dear Lord, okay, my dear Lord, you are the master of three worlds. You can fulfill all the desires of everyone. I have therefore selected you as my husband, considering you to be the only fit personality. You may throw me in any species of life according to the reaction of my fruitive activities. And I haven't the least concern for this. My only ambition is that I may always remain fast to your lotus feet, because you can deliver your devotees from illusory material existence and are always prepared to distribute yourself to your devotees. My dear Lord, you have advised me to select one of the princes, such as Shishupala, Jarasandha, or Dantavakra. But what is their position in this world? They are always engaged in hard labor to maintain their household life, just like the boss working hard day and night with the oil pressing machines. They are compared to asses, waste, or burden. They are always dishonored like the okay. They're always dishonored like the dogs, and they are miserably like the cats. My God. Sorry. They have sold themselves like slaves to their wives. Any unfortunate woman who has never heard of your glories may accept such a man as her husband. But a woman who has learned about you, that you are praised not only in this world, but in the halls of the great demigods like Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, will not accept anyone besides yourself as her husband. A man within this material world is just a dead body. In fact, superficially, the living entity is covered by this body, which is nothing but a bag of skin decorated with beards and moustaches, hairs on the body, nails on the fingers, and bones and pools of blood always mix up with stools during mucus, bile, and polluted air, and enjoy the different kinds of insects and germs. A foolish woman accepts such a dead body as her husband, and in sheer misunderstanding, loves him as her dear companion. This is only possible because such a woman has never tasted the ever blissful flavor of your lotus feet. My dear Lord, sorry.
Go ahead, read one more because you didn't read it all.
Okay, thank you. My dear lotus-eyed husband, you are self-satisfied. You don't care whether or not I am beautiful or qualified. You're not at all concerned about it. Therefore, your non-attachment for me is not at all astonishing. It is quite natural. You cannot be attached to any woman, however exalted her position and beauty. Whether you are attached to me or not, may my devotion and attention be always engaged at your lotus feet. The material mode of passion is also your creation. So when you passionately glance upon me, I accept it as the greatest mode of my life. I am ambition only for such auspicious moments.
Rasangi, are you able to read now or busy?
She was not able to read. She had to do something.
Rasangi, are you available?
Interesting how she takes a position of a material woman and she's not.
Right.
No, I'm driving now, driving.
Okay, thank you. After hearing Rukmini's statement and her clarification of each and every word which he had used to arouse her anger of love toward him, Krishna addressed Rukmini as follows: My dear chaste wife, my dear princess, I was expecting such an explanation from you, and for this purpose only I spoke all those joking words, so that you might be cheated of the real point of view. So that you really, so that you might be cheated? Really? Okay. Okay, I thought it was a typo. Oh no, where did it go?
Yeah, where'd you
Ah,
go?
I lost everything. Ah,
That sounds
you just
familiar.
touch. Krishna consciousness is a razor's edge. You touch the wrong button and everything disappears. Oh no. Okay, talks between Krishna and Rukmini.
You
And
might
let's
want
see
to
how far now.
go to the next chapter. It'll be shorter to go backwards.
Yeah. Okay. Where was that? Um,
There.
okay.
Yeah.
My dear chaste wife, my dear princess, I was expecting such an explanation from you, and for this purpose only. I spoke all those joking words so that you might be cheated of the real point of view. Now, my purpose has been served. The wonderful explanation that you have given to each and every word of mine is completely factual and approved by me. O most beautiful Rukmini, you are my dearmost wife. I am greatly pleased to understand how much love you have for me. Please take it for granted that no matter what ambition and desire you might have, and no matter what you might expect from me, I am always at your service. And it is a fact also that my devotees, my dearmost friends and servitors, are always free from material contamination, even though they are not inclined to ask from me such liberation. My devotees never desire anything from me except to be engaged in my service. And yet, because they are completely dependent upon me, even if they are found to ask something from me, that is not material. Such ambitions and desires, instead of becoming the cause of material bondage, become the source of liberation from this material world. So we're almost at the end. So why don't we just read a paragraph each so that we can finish? Let's see. It should be Krishna Chandra after me, and then Ishwar usually comes after that.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhu.
Krishna Chandra?
Jai. My dear chaste and pious wife, I have tested on the basis of strict chastity your love for your husband, and you have passed the examination most successfully. I have purposely agitated you by speaking many words which were not applicable to your character, but I am surprised to see that not a pinch of your devotion to me has been deviated from its fixed position. My dear wife, I am the bestower of all benedictions, even up to the standard of liberation from this material world, and it is I only who can stop the continuation of material existence and call one back to home, back to Godhead. One whose devotion for me is adulterated worships me for some material benefit, just to keep himself in the world of material happiness, culminating in the pleasure of sex life. One who engages himself in severe penance and austerities just to attain this material happiness is certainly under the illusion of my external energy. Persons who are engaged in my devotional service simply for the purpose of material gains and sense gratification certainly are very foolish. Material happiness based on sex life is available in the most abominable species of life, such as the hogs and dogs. No one should try to approach me for such happiness because it is available even if one is put into a hellish condition of life. It is better, therefore, for persons who are simply after material happiness and not after me to remain in that hellish condition.
Material contamination is so strong that everyone is working very hard day and night for material happiness. The show of religiousness, austerity, penance, humanitarianism, philanthropy, politics, science, everything is aimed at realizing some material benefit. For the immediate success of material benefit, the materialistic persons generally worship different demigods. And under the spell of material propensities, they sometimes take to devotional service of the Lord. Sometimes it so happens that if a person sincerely serves the Lord and at the same time maintains material ambition, the Lord very kindly removes the source of material happiness. Without finding any recourse in material happiness, the devotee then engages himself absolutely in pure devotional service.
Baba Trini in a hurry.
Lord Krishna continued, my dear best of the queens, it is clearly understood by me that you have no material ambition. Your only purpose is to serve me, and you have long been engaged in unalloyed service. Exemplary unalloyed devotional service not only can bestow upon the devotee liberation from this material world, but it also promotes him to the spiritual world for being eternally engaged in my service. Persons who are too addicted to material happiness cannot render such service. Women whose hearts are polluted and full of material desires devise various means of sense gratification, while outwardly showing themselves to be great devotees.
My dear honored wife, although I have thousands of wives, I do not think that any one of them can love me more than you. The practical proof of your extraordinary position is that you have never seen me before your marriage. You had simply heard about me from a third person, and still your faith in me was so fixed that even in the presence of many qualified, rich, and beautiful men of the royal order, you did not select any one of them as your husband, but insisted on having me. You neglected all the princes present and very politely sent me a confidential letter inviting me to kidnap you. While I was kidnapping you, your elder brother Rukmini violently protested and fought with me. As a result of the fight, I defeated him mercilessly and disfigured his body. At the time of Aniruddha's marriage, when we were all engaged in playing chess, there was another fight with your brother Rukmini on a controversial. Can you scroll, please? Thank you. Where did it go? Oh, controversial verbal point. And my elder brother Balaram finally killed him. I was surprised to see that you did not utter even a word of protest over this incident because of your great anxiety that you might be separated from me. You suffered all the consequences without speaking even a word. As a result of this great silence, my dear wife, you have purchased me for all time. I have become eternally under your control. You sent your messenger to me inviting me to kidnap you. And when you found that there was a little delay in my arriving on the spot, you began to see the whole world as vacant. At that time, you concluded that your beautiful body was not fit to be touched by anyone else. Therefore, thinking that I was not coming, you decided to commit suicide and immediately in that body. My dear Rukmini, such a great and exalted love for me will always remain within my soul. As far as I am concerned, it is not within my power to repay you for your unalloyed devotion to me.
Let's see. Shalila.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, certainly has no business being anyone's husband or son or father, because everything belongs to him and everyone is under his control. He does not require anyone's help for his satisfaction. He is Atma Rama, self-satisfied. he can derive all pleasure by himself without anyone's help. When the Lord descends to play the part of a human being, he plays a role either as a husband, son, friend, or enemy in full perfection. As such, when he was playing as a perfect husband of the queens, especially of Rukmini, he enjoyed conjugal love in complete perfection. According
Go ahead if you want.
According to Vedic culture, although polygamy is allowed, none of the wives should be ill-treated. In other words, one may take many wives only if he is able to satisfy all of them equally as an ideal householder. Otherwise, it is not allowed. Lord Krishna is the world teacher. Therefore, even though he had no need for wife, he expanded himself into as many forms as he had wives, and he lived with them as an ideal householder, observing the regulative principles, rules, and commitments in accordance with the Vedic injunctions and the social laws and customs of society. To each of his 16,108 wives, he simultaneously maintained different places, different establishments, and different atmosphere. Thus, the Lord, although one exhibited himself as 16,108 ideal householder, thus ends the Bhakti Vedanta purport of the second volume, 5th chapter of Krishna, talks between Krishna and Rukmini.
Nityalila, do you have any questions on anything that you read or heard tonight? Or this morning for you?
Whatever I read or heard, it is really beautiful conversation actually, and it teaches us complete surrender. And obviously, we all are Prakriti-based being. Lord Krishna is the only one who has got all the rights for enjoyment or use us as his wish or his command. So that's a basic message I get from Lord Krishna's teaching.
Mm-hmm. Any questions for the devotees on anything?
The light's open if you want.
I have a question. Krishna's mentioning to Rukmini that she was ready to commit suicide. And I'm thinking, well, I don't know. That must be like a matter of speaking because Rukmini's body is Satchidananda. And how could she give up that body? Because that's an eternal body. So I'm just thinking, is that just sort of a metaphor? Or I'm not trying to minimize, but
this is in Krishna's Bhoma Lila.
yeah.
And but it is indicative that she would not be touched by anybody else. Her determination was so strong, she was not willing. She would give up life itself rather than not have Krishna as her husband.
Right.
But-
So it's a matter of speaking in a sense, right? Because Rukmini's not possible. She can't give up a material body, right?
Can I make a comment?
Yeah.
Sure.
I had the impression maybe that Rukmini Devi was under the influence of Yoga Maya, and that perhaps she wasn't aware that she was
Exactly.
had this great power.
Well, yes, no, of course she is, but still I'm trying to understand how can she give up a body if that's an eternal body?
I
that?
thought she just had the emotional feeling that she, due to the potential of being separated from Krishna, that she felt that she wanted to leave her body, but she wasn't aware that she was not powerful. I mean, she was powerful, rather. Excuse me. Sorry.
Well, but in Krishna's Bhoma Lila, even Krishna gave up a body.
Oh, that's an interesting point you're making. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Well, it was
but
kind of like a fake body, right?
different than the intentional suicide. And the story is very nicely exemplified in when Sanatana Goswami wants to commit suicide because the Lord keeps embracing him and he's got this oozing
Wounds.
Right.
Of course.
their body. And so, but Lord Chaitanya said, well, your body is mine, it's my property. So, and the Purport Prabhupada explains about, yeah, the devotee might feel like that. The Lord won't allow, but it's actually to increase. This is like the play between devotees and Krishna. You know, he promotes that that a feeling of separation, and that you don't want anything else but Krishna. And so in order to bring that feeling up, there's competitors in her case, and there's all the most amazing opulence is offered to her. These are no ordinary men, materially speaking. I mean, they were successful, powerful, and like that. They could offer her kingdoms that were such opulence. But she didn't want that. She wanted Krishna. I mean, they said how she's a wife because there is some, there is not 100% dedication. Like, for example, any of the inhabitants of Raja, they give 100% of their lives, especially the gopis. They abandon everything for Krishna. And so Prabhupada in that Chaitanya Charitamrita explains that that suicide is sometimes in the mind of a devotee when he feels that he can't have the Lord, he won't attain the Lord, then it's better not to live anymore. What's the use of living?
Yeah, I understand. I understand.
That is, then immediately the Lord doesn't allow it to happen, of course.
But I think what you're saying is she doesn't have a material body. And what Krishna Chandra's saying is that she
It's
is
Leela.
under Yogamaya's
So is
influence. So she doesn't realize she can't die.
Right.
And so is Krishna too. He plays in the Leela, he plays as like an ordinary prince or a king, like an ordinary human.
I don't know if this is going off the subject, but one time when I was a new devotee, I had a dream that I entered into a room and Krishna was, the description where he's sitting on the bed, and Krishna was sitting there and he raised his hand and he said, and Rukmini is my favorite queen. And I had read that Satyabhama was his favorite queen. So I immediately realized, oh, this is incorrect, you're dreaming. And I made myself wake up. But later on, I read that she was also called his favorite queen. And the story of the Parijata flower, Krishna said, give this to my favorite queen. And Narada Muni gave it to Rukmini. But it just reminded me of the dream. And I wish I hadn't been such a stickler for what I thought was right. So I could have kept having this vision of Krishna.
In Western culture, when we say the best, it means only one. But in Vedic culture, we read, there are many the best.
Right.
Right.
Right, like Prabhupada saying to Shruti Kirti, if you just read this one book, Bhagavad Gita, or you just read this one book, Nectar of Devotion, I think he said it about a few of his books, you achieve perfection in this life, even one word. But he said
No need for anything else, right?
Right.
So he talks about perfection too, being like an ocean. So a very expansive ocean. So yeah, there are levels. Even levels of pure devotees too. There's gradations among the pure devotees.
But it's like some of these things are so parallel to Krishna's dealings with the gopis. Like he's saying, I can't repay you for your devotion.
Right.
It's
And
amazing.
he tells her she's a pure devotee. And her testing her.
So we'll go back to Nectar of Instruction. It's verse number 5. Krishneti yasya giritang manasadriyeta. This Friday, if everyone can make it, I'm grateful for your association.
Thank you.
Oh, you mentioned something about a commentary about Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur.
Oh yes, well we can do that on Monday on Krishna book reading if you like.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, no, we ran out of time. It's 20 after 9 here for Daneshwar Prabhu and myself.
Oh, very late. Thank you so much for staying.
I didn't write a song about Bomashura.
Oh no, it's in the Vivida Gorilla song. And Daneshwar Prabhu, you're going to be giving a talk because you were sharing something with me earlier that it's interesting that the different leaders in Russia or Ukraine have very yes.
Okay, I'm not clear on that, so better not to say that at this point.
Okay.
All I can say is that my followers in Russia, they want me to give they want me to give a lecture regarding my understanding of the events leading up to this war and the purpose of the war.
Uh-huh. And you spent how much time in Ukraine and Russia?
Well, I lived in Ukraine almost continuously for 5 years, and I lived in Russia probably for on and off maybe 9 months.
Uh-huh.
But I traveled extensively throughout Russia, and I covered Ukraine one end to the other. I know the place very well.
Wow. So your perspective could be quite interesting.
Well, I wouldn't say I'm speaking the absolute truth. There's many different ways to understand things. I have my perspective, and I have, because of my experience there, I have paid close attention to what was going on. And at the same time, let's say I am extremely skeptical about the nature of the governance, the so-called leaders of this country.
Oh.
Okay, I guess that wasn't in regard to what I said.
Sorry, we're stringing beats and I punctured.
Okay.
So you're going to be giving this talk coming up pretty soon?
Well, now I'll be speaking to them this weekend on that.
I see.
And then because that has Russian translation, they want that so that other devotees and other Russian-speaking devotees can hear that my perspective.
Uh-huh.
But I thought, perhaps we could do on Global Scam and Krishna's plan that we could do one in just straight English there.
Let's do it. Pradyumna is available anytime 5 to 7 during the week, and weekends is more like 1 to 4.
Okay, so let's we can schedule it sometime when it's convenient for everybody.
Okay, great. Thanks very much, everyone, for coming, and I look forward to hearing from Srila Rupa Goswami with you this Friday. Vanchakalpa Trubhischa
Kripasindubi Vichana Patitanam Bhavane Bhil Vaishmebhyo Namo Namo.
Ki Jai Nitai Gaur Premanandi.
Vaishnav Thakur Ki Jai.
Jai. Hari Hari.
Bye.
Hari